good to see so many people here tonight. Big welcome, and of course, a particularly big welcome for Ajahn Barry Subhaddo. It's great to have a guest teacher of the class this evening. And Ajahn Barry and I go back an awful long way at the Buddhist Society. Uh, Lord knows how long. And certainly we overlapped at this class, the basic meditation class, decades ago. And then Ajahn Barry did a lot of Zen training through the Buddhist Society. And after that, he ordained at Amravati under Ajahn Sumedho. And as a monk, he came back to the class and taught us, many times. And then he went his own way. And this evening, he's teaching us from his cave in Spain. And this is thanks to the wonders, of technology. And so this is really great. I'm very good to see him, and it's very good to see he's got good Wi-Fi in his cave in Spain. So look, great to see you, and I'd like to just hand over things to you, please. Ajahn Barry, take it away.
Thank you, Colin. First of all, I'll do a little introductory chant just to pay respects to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhamam sangham namasami. So my intention for this class, I heard the word teach used a couple of times. I don't teach. I suggest through my own experience being around this, as with Colin for an awful long time, suggest that we practice. And what I try and suggest is nothing but that. But maybe my format is much the same as you'll have heard before with other people who are leading or teaching the group, with perhaps a slight difference in emphasis. I'll give it a little bit of a talk and then a guided sweeping meditation. Now, perhaps the difference might be that my emphasis is always looking on what happens when we are present, when we are truly mindful, when we are aware, when we are in bare attention, whatever you want to call it, they're all the same as I'm concerned. Perhaps except for mindfulness, which is possibly in Buddhist terms is slightly misused, I think, as in a lot of mindfulness that is suggested now, perhaps not in the Buddhist tradition, but in lay life, is closer to self-consciousness, as I am doing, I am drinking this tea, I am cleaning my teeth, washing my face. But what I suggest is to look, just look. That's all we can do, is to look. Just look. When we are present in this moment, how is the mind? How is the heart mind in that present moment? And I'm sure that you will find that it's absolutely at peace. So looking at the Four Noble Truths of the Noble Truth of suffering, getting to know suffering, I noticed within my own practice that I'm so involved in suffering, I couldn't really get an objective view on it. How could I? Because I am that. I am controlled by Mara. But through being present, being in the moment, being truly aware, truly mindful of how the mind is at peace, which is total space, then you can see suffering clearly. You can get to understand suffering, because this type of awareness is not dumb or stupid. It's totally aware. Just have to excuse the dog. He's taking exception to what I'm saying. So getting to know that, getting to know the second noble truth, attachment to desire, attachment to getting away from things, attachment to becoming things. Again, they can be seen, they can be investigated through this place of no-thingness. There's a bright mind there that isn't controlled by our conditioning, our views and opinions. It's just letting go, standing out of the way for a change. It might only be for a second, but the more we do this, the more we remember to come back to the body, which is the easiest, to any part of the body, to the breath, to the sounds. The more we do this, the more natural it becomes. Because why wouldn't it? Because we actually start to see the end of suffering. We actually start to experience the third noble truth, the cessation of suffering. All this is often made out to be extremely complicated. I don't think it is. If only we look without labeling, without questioning, because if we just look and plant a seed, when the conditions are right, the question will answer itself. We're not in the way anymore. We're not coming from our biases and views and opinions. And once we become a little bit familiar with this place of calm equanimity, we practice the Eightfold Path, because bringing that into every right view, right thought, right speech, right action, etc. Now, it's very difficult, I think perhaps impossible, to do that. We can do it, but it will not be liberating if we are doing it. Remember, anicca, dukkha, anatta, everything is subject to change. There is suffering, and there is no permanent or core self. So who is there to do this? But we can bring that awareness, that true mindfulness into every action, into all speech, and then things truly transform. We truly see the practice coming to life instead of just learning all the words and the scriptures without asking why. Why are we mindful? People can become extremely proficient at being mindful, doing certain techniques, but oftentimes forgetting why. It's the technique will not lead to the end of suffering. It's always a balance. It's a balance between our intuitive side and our confused, addicted side. It's balancing them out. At the moment, we're totally controlled by our intellect. We've basically forgotten about the intuitive side. So getting to know that, and as far as I can see, the only true way to get to know it is to stop, is to just come back to whatever place you choose in the body. I don't know what your particular practice or techniques are, but always coming from the point of view, okay, I'm aware of my hands. When there is awareness of my hands, there's a stopping. The mind can't be in two places at one time. The only thing that can be in two places in one time is the dreaming, deluded mind is off somewhere else while we're still here. But when there is awareness, there is just presence. I'm not talking about concentration. Concentration is easily upset. It can't be held. We try to hold it. We tend to think that we fail when we can't concentrate. We don't need to concentrate. We just need to be aware. And in that moment of awareness, there is peace. There is the true refuge of the Buddha. So this is what I'm always suggesting, to really try, to really not think in terms of, I'm going to meditate now, and then meditation time comes to an end, and that's the end. No, meditation starts right now. Right now, every moment. There is no time. It's only the present moment. So that's the only time to practice. Just stopping, taking it from when we leave this session, taking it from your seat or whatever, with you everywhere. There is no reason why you cannot be aware in any situation that the world can offer you. You might be blown away occasionally, but just come back with loving kindness, with true metta. No beating yourself up because you forgot for an hour, a week, a day, a month, a year. It doesn't matter. There's only now to start again. At the end of the guided meditation, I really encourage you, if you have any questions, please ask them, because many people are a little bit confused by this, by the simplicity of where I'm coming from. Also, it's very helpful to others, because most people have the same question, even if they put it in a different way. So please do ask questions at the end of the meditation. Okay, so sitting in a reasonably comfortable position, whether you're on a cushion, on a mat, on a chair, or on a sofa, just find the body in a position that there is an awareness in the body, which helps us to notice when the mind runs off again to the future, or starts thinking about the past or the technique or getting some milk on the way home or whatever. Just come back gently. So sitting in that reasonably comfortable position with that awareness, a slight muscle tone, just so we stay awake a little bit more easily. And pushing the head up very slightly, the crown of the head just slightly up. And becoming aware of the whole body, from the tips of the toes to the top of the head. Noticing, just noticing, how is it when we stop? So becoming aware of the top of the head. Now this is important. If I say become aware of the top of the head or the ears or the fingernails, well, we can't become aware of the fingernails. What we can become aware of is the space when the mind stops. We don't need to project onto anything. We just become aware. It's all that's needed. Nothing to get, nothing to gain, nobody to become. Just to remember to be present. So being aware of the top of the head, and let that awareness spread down the back of the head. And let it spread down the sides of the head, the temples. Becoming aware of the ears. Letting that awareness spread down the forehead. And the eyebrows. Just noticing. And the eyes, the eyelids. Becoming aware of the nose and the nostrils. Becoming aware of the mouth, the tongue, the teeth. Just noticing, how is the mind? How is the heart mind when we are aware? Becoming aware of the chin and the jaw and the cheeks. So letting that awareness spread down the neck to the neck, around the neck and the throat. Now bring into your awareness, into your consciousness, into your attention, the neck, the whole of the face, and the whole of the head. And most critically, noticing how is the mind in that very moment. So letting that awareness spread down from the neck, down to the shoulders. And from the shoulders down the upper arms to the elbows, the front, the sides and the back of the arms. And letting that awareness spread down from the elbows down to the wrists. And from the wrists down the back of the hands, the thumb, the knuckles, the joints of the fingers, the fingernails, and the tips of the fingers. Just noticing, how is it when there is awareness? How is it when there is just space? And becoming aware of the palm of the hands, the thumb, the palm, the joints of the fingers, and the tips of the fingers. Bring into your awareness your hands, the arms, the shoulders, the neck, the head and the face. Just noticing how it is when the thinking mind stops. Now letting that awareness spread down the back, from the shoulders, down through the shoulder blades, the sides of the trunk, down the spine, the small of the back, the arch of the back, the coccyx and the buttocks. Now allowing that awareness to spread down from the shoulders, down the chest, through the rib cage, the lungs, the diaphragm, the stomach, the sides of the torso, the solar plexus, the navel, the hara just below the navel, letting that awareness spread down through the intestines, down to the groin, to the hips. Now bring into your awareness the whole of your body, the whole of the trunk of your body, the back, the front from the hips up, from the buttocks up, the hands, the arms, the shoulders, the neck, the head and the face. Just noticing. There's nothing to do here other than notice, other than being aware. So letting that awareness spread down from the hips, down the legs, the upper legs down to the knees, the top of the legs, the sides, the back of the legs. Noticing any feelings, maybe of discomfort, but not judging, just looking, just noticing. So allowing that awareness to spread down from the knees, down to the ankles, the shins, the sides and the back of the lower legs. If there is discomfort and you think it might be damaging, then move, but don't react. Just look at it first and then respond appropriately, which is either moving or not moving, stretching or not stretching. But this is about responding to, not reacting, which we normally do. So letting that awareness spread down from the ankles, down the top of the feet, the sides of the feet, the toes, the joints of the toes, the toenails, and the tips of the toes. Now let that awareness spread down from the ankles, the Achilles tendons, the heels of the feet, the arch of the feet, the sole of the feet, the ball of the feet, the toes, and the tips of the toes. Now bringing into your attention the whole of the body from the tips of the toes to the top of the head, the legs, the hands, the arms, the torso, the neck, the shoulders, the face, and the head. Just returning to it whenever the mind wanders, which is the mind's nature. It's not a problem. Just come back. Every time the mind wanders, don't comment, just return. Just return to the present moment that is prior to the thinking state. So becoming aware of the breath. Perhaps it's quite gentle by now. Not following the breath, not concentrating on it in the nose, the throat, the chest, or wherever, just breathing naturally, normally, with awareness. Move the attention as necessary. You don't need to stick to one thing and perfect that. Scan around the body. Awareness is awareness. No matter if it's the breath, the sounds, the sound of silence, the feet or the hands or the body, the torso. Awareness is awareness, so don't try and perfect a concentration that can stick to one thing. There is only now, to be aware in the now. Listening to the sounds within, our natural sounds. When sounds come in from the outside, don't go out to them. There's a knowing what they are. Just leave them to come and go. Finding a particular part. So for myself, it's the hands, which I normally meditate with them together. So that's easier for me to use those as an anchor, or the sound of silence, or if I'm standing, my feet. Not to be concentrating on them, but just to be aware and just to notice how my response to the world changes when I am coming from a place of awareness. I'll ring the bell in a few seconds. As I said to start with, Meditation doesn't stop. Bringing it into our life, into every moment, into every situation. What I'm suggesting, I mean, it's no, I don't think it's anything different. My emphasis might be a bit more on not, say, following the breath, particularly, because I find it something we can do in any situation, at work, waiting for a bus, walking to the bus stop, whatever, it really doesn't matter. Getting to know that place. So I made up this little analogy of we're so used to, well, we suffer, we're suffering all the time because of our denial of everything's changing. We try to hold on to everything. Our persistently, consistently trying to become things, alter things, get away from things. So I'm saying that analogy, that story is like we walk on hot coals. We're walking on hot coals. And that's all we know. Because that's all we've done nearly all of our lives is walk on hot coals. And, you know, it seems quite normal. And this is why I think it's difficult to really get an understanding of suffering, because it becomes normal. But the more times, the more we are present in the present moment, the more we are aware, the more we get to know this quiet place that's prior to the thinking mind, which isn't dumb, it isn't stupid, it's very aware, it knows how to respond to the world. The more we get to know this, we step from the coals onto the cool grass. And that's that's a relief. First time. But through our conditioning, our karma, so to speak, we go back onto the coals. But the more we practice, the more we leave those coals and go onto the grass verge. There'll come a time when we'll say, well, why the hell should I go back onto those coals? But we have to, we can't think this out. It's totally experiential. We have to prove it to ourselves because we're so used to thinking we're in control of the world, that we can alter everything to our liking. We have to get to know this place, get to trust it, get to see that we can function in the world probably much better without trying to control everything. When the ego steps aside, then we can see things more clearly. We sort of awaken. As Ajahn Sumedho says, be the Buddha knowing the Dharma. That translated is to be the one who knows the way it is. And it is like this, but we have this intense addiction or whatever to want to alter it all, want to fill our lives with things from the outside or philosophies or religions or whatever, instead of truly looking to see what this is about and the answers will come of themselves. Buddhism, as far as I'm concerned, is an inside-out religion, if you want to call it religion. It's not an outside-in, which we tend to do. If I learn this, if I do this, I'll be... No, no. Learn to find that place of no self, and then the teachings really start to blossom. Those seeds germinate when the time is right. Does anybody have any questions at all?
Hi, this is Susan. I have a question.
Please ask. Yeah, please ask it.
So when I'm doing light kasina, and as per instruction, I have to tell myself light, light, light. Is that saying that to myself counterproductive? Perhaps I should just be quiet and look at the light.
Well, I mean, obviously you have a teacher who's suggesting that to you.
The instruction of light kasina or kasinas says to say the word light, 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 but I'm not sure if that could be counterproductive. So
is it bearing fruit? This is what you have to figure out for yourself. Is it actually changing anything? I mean, you can use most things as long as you know why you're using them, to see perhaps by saying light, by using it as a sort of a mantra, what happens with the mind at that time. So it can be a way to discover that true place of harmony, of no suffering. But again, many of these techniques become addictive. And we think by saying light, 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 we'll solve something. Well, not necessarily if you're not truly aware of why you're doing it.
yes, I hear you.
Yeah, does that help at all?
Yes, I hear you. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. So use it wisely, not just as a silly light. Use it, contemplate what is happening. How is my mind when I am practicing that? And that's the important thing.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Hi, it's Jonathan. I have a question.
Hi.
Hi there. You said earlier that we are really controlled by our intellect, and when I think personally about things that are controlling my life to a degree, I would say that an aspect of that is distractions. And to give an example, during the meditation, I actually won an eBay auction. And that sounds like a pretty serious distraction, but I knew in advance that it was going to coincide with the class. So I just wondered whether distractions are really an aspect of intellect, because it seems to me intellect is something that can be extremely useful, but obviously distractions are not useful at all to a practice.
Yeah. Well, as I say, the human intellect is the greatest thing humans have. The greatest tool, but it is the most terrible master. Now, when it takes over and we completely forget or lose sight of, for the want of a better term, the intuitive side of us, the intuitive wisdom, this is the problem. It takes over. We believe the written word. We're not looking within for the truth. We believe that we can read it somewhere. We can believe that we can do things to encourage it somewhere. And oftentimes this is how we begin. But then to get to know that we need to stand out of the way. We need to balance this intuition with the intellect. There's nothing wrong with the intellect whatsoever. But the problem is, it's taken over. It's Mara pulling the strings.
Mm.
So, I mean, I wouldn't make a problem of it. I just, yeah, okay. So you're distracted by, you've just won your thing on the eBay. Fine, come back. It's not a problem.
Mm.
The distraction's not a problem,
Mm.
but you can also develop this intuitive side, balance it out, and then you could do those things. It makes no difference to what you do, but you do them in a much more reflective way, or a way that's not blown around like a leaf in the wind every time something goes wrong.
Yes.
Does that help at all?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Thank you.
Good.
Hi, Ajahn. Hey, hi. Do I pronounce your name right? Ajahn?
Ajahn, yeah.
Ajahn, hi. Thanks for the talk. I have two questions. The first one is about living in the moment. So before the meditation, I just had really good news. So during the meditation, my mind just automatically think about that. I was so happy, but it's not the purpose of meditation. It's I should be like not thinking about the past. But doing that, wouldn't I lose the enjoyment like for the good news I should have been enjoying? So that's my first question. And second one is, you talked about letting go your ego. It's easier said than done. So I was wondering, do you have any like practical method of like forget about your ego or putting your ego behind?
Yeah,
So,
okay.
thank you.
The first question, if it's good news, it's good news. You know, great, that's wonderful. Why do you want to, you're present with that good news. Are you not? You're not sort of have this good news and then you're thinking, these got things I've got to do. No, use that. That good news is good news. It's a human response. So don't put a negative thing onto it. It is probably more present thinking about that good news than, we think of meditation as something separate, something special, but it needs to become totally normal. And we can be aware of good news when we have real awareness within ourselves, so to speak. So I wouldn't worry about that. We're always trying to, we sort of think as if there's a meditation policeman looking over us and is going to tell us off if we think about something else. No, it's about being present. Enjoy the good news in the present moment. And don't attach to it, because that can, it could go wrong. I don't know, I'm making this up. So then you get, next minute you're crying because you've attached to that good news and you don't want to let it go. But just keep it natural, keep it normal. And the other question about letting go of the ego, I'm not sure if I actually use those words, because it's not possible to let go of the ego. I know you said it's easier said than done, and it's easily said, and it's impossible to do it because we are the ego. But what we can do is we can be aware, we can be truly mindful of the present moment. And then there is an automatic dropping of the ego. We can't do this practice because it's us, we who are in the way. So we've got to look somewhere else, look to that quiet, equanimous, loving place of true refuge. And then the ego dissipates within there. It cannot be present when we are truly present. Do you understand that?
So you're saying we look at something big, so we don't fixate on the ego. Is that what you mean?
Now, if are you sitting on a cushion? Are you sitting on a chair?
I'm sitting on the chair.
Okay, and your feet are on the ground?
Yes.
And can you feel your feet?
Yes.
And when you feel your feet, how is your mind in that very moment? You don't need to think about it. Just how is your mind when you feel your feet?
At ease. It's solid.
Yeah. Is there any ego there?
No.
Okay. So this is in fact, in a sense, the difficulty of this practice, because it's so easy. We overlook the simplicity. When we are aware, the body, I think, is the easiest thing. When we are aware of a particular part of the body, there is just presence. There cannot be a separation in that moment. It's when we've got it all worked out in our head, then there's a separation, because it's controlled by thoughts, views, and opinions. So just come back to the simplicity of being aware of a particular part of the body, the breathing, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Thank you. That's very helpful, especially the feet on the floor one.
Yeah. You know, you wouldn't believe how helpful that has been to me, that particular thing. It's, in a sense, I could say it's changed my life, just being aware of my feet. And that might sound very amusing to most people.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
I'd like to ask a question if possible. I don't know if you
Please
can
do.
My name is Karen, and it's interesting because when I meditate, I always see color, and as I move my body, I see different colors. Is that something that's what's the connection with the colors? If there is indeed a connection, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know. Some people, it happens to some people. I don't know if it's a type of synesthesia, but it does happen to some people.
Yeah.
Personally, if it happens, and that's what's there. And just be present with a particular part of the body or the sounds or even the color. But importantly, don't attach to it. Don't try and create others, and don't overanalyze it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, pleasure.
Could I ask a question, please? I'm
Please
Liz. And how do you carry that in your everyday life? Because I try and I find it very difficult. You know, like I walk to the park because here we're in lockdown, and so we are very limited in what we can do. But this morning, I was going to the park and I was thinking, you know, moving my right leg, then my left leg, my right leg, my left leg. But then, and what? Do you see what I mean? It doesn't liberate me. It makes me feel like I'm on a neutral ground, which doesn't. Do you see what I mean?
I think so.
Zombieing myself.
It's this is what I started off by saying. That type of mindfulness I find is oftentimes not very helpful, or that so-called mindfulness. But walking naturally, just walking, not concentrating on your feet, but just feeling the feet, just walking in a smooth way. The mind gets distracted, just coming back. The whole thing, as far as I can see, is keeping it simple.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Keep it simple. But also critically, the practice starts right now, because oftentimes what people say, oh yeah, I've been practicing for many years, but as soon as there's a crisis, you know, I fall apart. it's because it will not work when there's a crisis if you haven't done the foundation work beforehand. So you have to start right now. And then when you walk, you go to the kitchen, you go and get into bed, you sweep through the body, you wake up, you sweep through the body again. Everything you do, try and remember to come back, not to what you're doing, but to the body, to noticing how we're at peace when we're present.
Well, I had an accident during the summer. I was knocked over by a car.
Right.
And it is really strange what you say in crisis. My immediate response was sweeping my body.
Brilliant.
And then saying, okay, it doesn't seem too bad. It could have been an awful lot worse because she stopped about an inch from my skull, but she didn't, so that's fine. And I couldn't get up because my hip was hurt, but I was very calm. I surprised myself because they were all panicking around me, but I was very calm and saying, well, you call an ambulance and you organize the traffic around me, please. And it was quite incredible. I amazed myself, I've got to say, you know, it was, Yeah,
a big shock can do that. But really, it's pointing out something to you, that this can become the norm if we are persistent and consistent in our remembering to be truly mindful, truly aware, noticing how there is peace, how there's a cessation of suffering in that moment, even if it's just for a fraction of a second. But the more we practice, the more the more consistent we are with it, the more normal, the more natural it will become.
Thank you.
May I ask a question as well?
Please do.
So I think it is said that fear and desire are like the source of suffering. However, it seems to me that they are also in everyday life, you know, what drives everyday life really. So is the desire to succeed and, you know, the fear of failure. So whether that's within your personal life or within your professional life as well. So how do we balance that, and how do we free ourselves from those desires and those fears, yet have managed to have a good life, basically?
Yeah, I mean, the Buddhism said greed, hatred, and delusion. The way the world is conducted, say financially, which is based on greed and fear, greed for more and fear for loss. And we're all caught up in that and conditioned into thinking that way. And the only way that I can see that there is release from that is to get to know that is prior to the thinking mind. And I'll say again, that place of not thinking is what they call in the Theravada tradition the silent thinker. It does think in a certain way. It's a knowingness thinking more than a trying to work it out. So that's the only way I can see to say, what a bit of a term, to get out of that trap, greed and fear, greed, hatred, and delusion. Because there's a genuine letting go in that moment. And the more we get to know it, and we actually start to function better. Even if I would imagine if you're a financial expert working in the stock exchange, probably do it a little bit better. It doesn't exclude things. Of course, there are moral, there's the precepts to take into account. It's because they're so unskillful, their suggestions of they're so unskillful, they're bound to cause us to build the ego, etc. They build that sense of separation. But get to know that place. Truly, truly dedicate yourself to that. It's so simple. It's so easy. It takes no time and it costs no money. Does that answer at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to experience this.
So is it I want to say, is it wrong to desire earthly things or be afraid of earthly failures?
No, it is the way it is. We're human beings. We have feelings, emotions, but we can see, it's in the Chinese say a guest and host. The host is our true nature, that quiet, reflective, open refuge. But the guest is everything else coming from the outside. So once we're clear about this, we know they're just guests. They come and go. They actually have no or very little power over us. So getting to know the host. And then there's freedom. There's more freedom.
Yeah, thank you.
Pleasure. So no more questions? If there are no more questions, I suggest we sit for another 5 or so minutes just to settle down, just to let go of all the things we've talked about, which possibly might have even made sense, I don't know. But even those need to be let go of. We just need to go, know that is right now. Drop all the views and opinions and just get to know that place. So again, sitting, just sitting quietly, just sitting in a position that helps you maintain a little bit of awareness. And just noticing the stopping, noticing when we are aware, there just is, there just isness, just beingness. So don't worry if the mind goes off somewhere else. That's its nature to do that. It's divisive by nature. All you need to do is to notice that and come back and notice how the mind, the heart mind is in that present moment. So just returning to the body or the breath or the sounds or whatever is easiest for you, as long as it's present. Again, nothing to get from this, nothing to gain, nothing to become.
Wow. Thank you very much indeed for spending this evening with us, Ajahn Barry. It's always good to see old friends.
Yeah. As you say, I was saying earlier, I think it's early 70s that we first met.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's right, actually.
I shouldn't have said that, really, should I? It's frightening.
Yeah, well, old friends are worth, or hanging on to is the wrong word if you're a Buddhist, but it's great to see them around once in a while, and particularly, you know, it's really nice that that you can spend time with us. I mean, I think one of the, more seriously, you know, one of the blessings of all this horrible virus business has meant most of us got sort of savvy with things like Zoom and all the rest of it. So people are, we're keeping in touch, at least I am, keeping in touch with people on the other side of the world. That means that people on the other side of the world can, from my point of view, come and teach the basic meditation class at the Buddhist Society. So that is really great. I really appreciate you doing that. I think that's wonderful. And I very much hope that that we can get you back again to teach the class. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, now, as you say, there's a Thursday meeting at the Buddhist Society, maybe 10 people, 12 people.
Yeah.
Now you possibly had 48 people.
Look, I shouldn't be looking at the numbers, but it was 51 at one stage.
Oh, really? That's brilliant, isn't it? Yeah.
Some of them are still here now. I think that's absolutely great. That's very good.
Yeah. And it's so nice to see everybody and see that you're willing to spend an hour or so refreshing that that, not a very Buddhist word, but that desire to see the truth.
Do you want to take this opportunity of saying a bit more about what teaching you're doing?
Well, I've said it. I can only respond to questions.
No.
I keep it really simple. You see.
You do other online classes, do you?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if anybody fancies being really bored, because I always say the same thing, the Golden Buddha Center in Totnes every Sunday. So on their website, Golden Buddha Center, it's on the homepage. You can just join the class.
That's very good. Thank you again. Really appreciate that. And as I said, it's great to see so many people here.
Yeah.
For the record, if you don't know this class, I mean, we're just very lucky having a guest teacher tonight, and I always welcome, you know, guest teachers. Richard Bober does a great job, and you know, I sort of hang in there for the past 40 years. but the message I want to get across is this class meets every Thursday, and everybody is very welcome to come and to bring a friend. So thanks again, everybody. Thanks, Ajahn Barry. Take care, and I hope to see you all this time next week. Look after yourself.
Okay.
Bye.
There was just a question from Anita. When do you teach? As I said, it's the only other class I do is the Golden Buddha Center and on their homepage.